Honey, where are my socks? Honey, where are my socks? Honey, where...
Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, would you like...
Fucker! You fucker! Fucker!
Oh!
Huh? What the f...
Hello again, everyone. This is Bionic Slime. I am back again with another installment of my BS movie reviews. And this time, I'm happy to give you my long delayed, and I apologize for that, and overly excited review for the new Star Trek film that just came out last week. The new Star Trek film was directed by JJ Abrams and is brought to you by Bad Robot Pictures and Paramount Pictures. Stars Chris Pine as James T. Kirk, Zachary Quinto as a young Spock, Carl Urban as Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy, Zoe Saldana as Nyota Uhura, Simon Pegg as Scotty, John Cho as Hikaru Sulu, and Eric Bana as the villain Nero. Plot. The Star Trek film takes back all the way to the very beginning and pretty much starts from the time that James T. Kirk, Spock, Uhura, Sulu, and everyone first meets as they are first assigned to the newly created U.S. Starship Enterprise. And it shows how the crew, the infamous Star Trek crew, first meets and how they band together to battle against a villain known as Nero, an alien called a Romulan, I believe, who is hunting down Federation ships, and how they must work together to work with this new ship and save the Federation from destruction. Basically, it's like a big origin story. The good. The first thing I want to make very clear about this review is that I am not a Trekkie fan. I have never been really that into the series. I have no real interest, nor do I have any intrigue in either of the Star Trek series. I don't care what variation, new, old, I never really cared for it. The only Star Trek film I actually cared and enjoyed to watch was Star Trek First Contact, which I thought was a fantastic movie, by the way. And it was, other than that, that was the only Star Trek movie I had ever seen until I saw this one. Having said that, I had heard that this movie had been designed to work for both old fans and people who don't know anything about Star Trek, and in that regard, this movie was absolutely phenomenal. When you're taking an old franchise and giving it a new boost and kick like this, it's very difficult because you know that there are always going to be old fans that are very, very fickle about accepting anything new into their already beloved franchise. And even when you're running into a new crowd, it's hard because not everyone's going to like the same thing because you might have to change something like that, or it's not what you expected it to be. As far as Star Trek goes, if there was ever any doubt that JJ Abrams was going to mess this franchise up, it was immediately squashed in the first 10 minutes of the movie. I almost was brought to tears in the first 15 minutes of the movie. Now, for a film to do that so quickly, I already got to give props to a director for putting on a good job for that. The movie is absolutely incredible. It takes place in such an easy setting that anyone can adapt to, whether you're a new fan or old fan, and presents it in a way that everyone can absorb it and enjoy it. The whole Star Trek universe is littered here, set out right in front of you in plain, simple, and yet interesting, complicated ways that people of both generations, new and old, can enjoy this film. It just made it so easy, and not only was it so easy to settle into, it was so easy to enjoy it. What really makes this film function above all else, besides the fact that you're starting back from the beginning, so it makes it easy to get back onto the Star Trek wagon, what makes this movie really shine is the cast. JJ Abrams has got to be one of the most brilliant directors I've ever seen, if he was the one who really personally chose all these people, because they were phenomenal. Chris Pine is relatively new to the scene, and I thought he was incredible as James T. Kirk. I don't know too much about Kirk. I have some bits and pieces of information that I know of him, and I've seen a couple glimpses of him in clips, but Chris Pine made that character so lively and so enjoyable that he felt like he just sank right into it with little difficulty. I'm a big supporter of Zachary Quinto. I love his work on Heroes as the awesome villain Sylar, and I was really looking forward to seeing how he would pull off a young Spock, and he did not disappoint. He narrowed the blending mix of conflicting logic and personal emotions perfectly. It was always a part with this character, and he never once fell out of that distinctive natural setting of being quarreling with his emotions and being illogical. I mean, everything about him fit Spock to a T, in my opinion. And I don't even know that much about Spock, but still, I felt it just all felt right. Everyone in here seemed to fit in to their personalities perfectly. Simon Pegg, brilliant as Scotty. I would have loved to see more of him because he brought humor, he brought liveliness, freshness to the character. Well, all I remember was just said, "Beam me up, Scotty," and all that. It's about the extent I knew of him. So it was nice to see so much more about him. Same with the Sulu. John Cho was very good. I think that you could have used more of him too, but he was great as George Takei's role. Even some of the other characters, like the Zoe Saldana, who I thought was absolutely gorgeous as Uhura. I'll be honest, I didn't think the original actress for Uhura in the show, from what I saw, was that attractive. I didn't honestly see what much of the sex appeal was about. Perhaps you have to be a fan to understand that. But in this case, she was just oozing with sexual charisma and energy, and she just made that character so fascinating to watch. I was extremely impressed with her. Extremely impressed. Carl Urban was hysterical and just great as Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy. He nailed it down so perfectly. Every gag I've heard with his "damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor." All those favorite quotes and quips and personality quirks from the Star Trek characters are all held brilliantly. I don't even know that much. Now I was able to catch on to these little gags and inside jokes of these characters, and that shows you just how good a franchise can settle into a new coming fan. Eric Bana, who plays villain Nero, I honestly didn't care for Eric Bana in the beginning of his career. I mean, I saw him in Hulk, and I thought he was just god-awful, and nothing I ever saw him in gave me any interest to see this actor more. Yet he really made a compelling villain, and really gave some good, needed drama and suspension of intensity with the character. I was really impressed with him. And for me to be impressed by Eric Bana, that's really saying something. And of course, you got so many other people who are filling out the rest of it. You got Winona Ryder. You got, of course, Leonard Nimoy, always, of course, good. Everyone in here was just so good. And it wasn't just the acting, it was the visuals, the music, the writing. It was smart, sharp, and straight to the point. It made it fresh, it made it clever, it didn't feel old or dated or anything. The special effects were absolutely incredible. I'd never seen so many intense star battles since Star Wars. I didn't think Star Trek could get that awesome with their starship battles. The music was absolutely perfect. It hit every mood. It knew just what to sing and what to say at each time. And the writing was absolutely incredible. I was so impressed. It was smart. It was. I can't say enough good things about this movie. From the beginning to the end, it captured my interest. It made me like these characters, and it made me want to be a fan of this franchise because it was done so well. It's easy to see how anyone who is a fan of this series can just absolutely love this film as much as me, a newcomer. And as far as from the bad part of the review, I honestly don't have anything. I really don't. The only thing I could possibly say was that I think we needed to see a little more Simon Pegg and John Cho as Scotty and Sulu. Other than that, everything was perfect. I repeat, perfect. This was a brilliant masterpiece of a relaunch. This was even done better in some ways than Batman Begins, because there was no weak points or flaws in the structure of the story, the continuity, the characters, the dialogue, the special effects. Everything was done top notch. There's so much going on in this film, and it's done in such a brilliant way that anyone can just sit down and watch this movie and fall in love with it just like I did. And if you don't, if you're too skeptical of a Star Trek fan, then I'm sorry to say, but you are missing out on something truly fantastic. This was an amazing film, an amazing adventure, and I say JJ Abrams has an excellent career ahead of him if he keeps creating movies like this. This was a film that I loved from start to finish, and is by far one of the best films I've seen of 2009. I cannot praise or say enough about it, other than go see this movie. You will not be disappointed, Trekkie fan or no. Bottom line, the wrap-up review, JJ Abrams' Star Trek film gets a perfect 5 stars out of 5 stars review. Hope you've enjoyed listening to my review, and I hope you guys please go see this movie because it is worth every bit of the ticket price. This has been Bionic Slime. Thank you all for listening.